Yo, what's up guys? How's everybody doing? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to No Huddle Fantasy Sports. And today we are doing something a little bit different because today's the day. It's here. It's time. We are for the first time in 2020 talking NFL specific DFS content here at No Huddle Fantasy Sports. Today is Thursday, September 10th, 2020. Tonight, 8:30 p.m. is the kickoff of the NFL season. We have the Houston Texans playing at the Kansas City Chiefs to start the 2020 NFL season. And with that, we will be jumping specifically into the DraftKings app here, talking specifically the single game showdown slate on DraftKings. That's, the captain, flex spots, the 6 position specifics. We'll talk captains, we'll talk flex, we'll talk leverage, we'll talk all the specifics you need for tonight's DFS single game slate. But before we get started, let's first take a quick look. I haven't talked to you guys, haven't put out content in a few days now. So kind of what's the outlook for the rest of the baseball season? What are we looking at for NFL? Well, for sure, starting Monday, we will be jumping right back into daily MLB DFS specific content. We won't be changing that. We've been killing it all season long. We plan to continue to kill it the rest of the MLB season. We're almost probably 3/4 of the way through the season, so we are winding that season down. But with that, we will stay committed. We still will put out daily content as we've always done. I do apologize. I've been on vacation. I mentioned that several times in some tweets and other stuff over Labor Day. If you guys got a break, hopefully you're enjoying that also. But starting Monday, we'll be back on the grind for baseball and putting out all the excellent content here at No Huddle Fantasy Sports as we normally do. In terms of football, well, it starts tonight. The goal will be to put out 3 or 4 videos per week dedicated to NFL DFS, with maybe Monday or Tuesday, either way early in the week, putting out kind of a sneak peek, FanDuel specific, dive into the app. We'll talk specific pricing, things that kind of jump out early in the week, nothing too detailed, nothing too specific, but kind of getting a sneak peek into the upcoming main slate, Sunday slate. Beyond that, we will dive into Thursday specific slates, single game slates. I do personally like to play more on DraftKings. I'll explain a little bit later why, but in terms of DraftKings, we will be doing a Thursday breakdown each and every week of the slate, whatever 2 teams are playing. Talk about captain, flex spots, all the stuff that you need to know for that showdown slate on DraftKings. And then beyond that, hopefully on Fridays, I'll be publishing a more in-depth main slate specific NFL DFS video. As we do with baseball, that video will be more dedicated to detail, more dedicated to the specific plays of the weekend's main slate, the Sunday main slate. And then hopefully, just hopefully, I have a little bit of a creative video that will come out on Sundays, a quick video, a video more dedicated to the theme here at No Huddle Fantasy Sports. So stay tuned to that. But 3 or 4 videos, hopefully each week, dedicated to NFL DFS. And then, as I mentioned, kicking off Monday, we'll be getting right back into the daily MLB DFS content. So stay tuned for all of that. That being said, let's not waste too much time here. Let's dive into the DraftKings app here. Now, I will mention, I already talked about it. I like the DraftKings setup for these types of contests, these single game, single slate, whatever you want to call it, type of contest. Now, in general, take your time with these. Don't spend too much money. In my opinion, do whatever the hell you want. But me personally, I put a couple lineups out there. I like these slates. They're fun, but they're nothing more than that. They're really hard to win. They're really, really hard to take down those massive tournaments. If you can do it, great. Let me know. That's awesome. If you have any comments, as always, leave them down below. But in general, I believe these are just more fun, keep you involved throughout the week type of football slates. Now, the reason I like DraftKings is this captain spot. So both DraftKings and FanDuel, if you haven't played this before, basically the setup is you pick 6 players, fit it within a salary cap from the 2 teams that are available, and then you have to pick a captain. The captain is obviously worth more in terms of points scored. 1.5 times their typical scoring is allotted to the captain spot. But the difference between DraftKings and FanDuel, which I think is critical, DraftKings also prices up the player by that 1.5 multiplier. So for example here, 18.9 for Patrick Mahomes. His regular flex price is 12.6. Now, if you're playing on FanDuel, it doesn't matter. Whatever his price is on FanDuel in the flex or captain remains the same. I think that kind of takes out a lot of the strategy. It makes it I wouldn't say it's easier, but it makes for more repetitive lineups. You have to know what you're doing. You have to get really creative, focus on salary, focus on value with DraftKings, and I do like that. I think it helps with these really small slates. So for all these Thursday videos, I will be putting out specific to DraftKings here. So let's focus in on that. What are we talking about tonight? Well, a couple stats I do want to mention really quickly. We have a great game tonight. Houston, as I mentioned, playing in Kansas City. You're looking at a 53 over-under. It hasn't really changed too much over the last couple of hours. Kansas City is a big favorite at minus 9.5. That means they're projected to score 32 points on the night, so a big total for that Kansas City team. I will mention there is a little bit of a weather concern. I'm seeing 19-20% in terms of a rain chance, so make sure you pay attention to that, but nothing too serious right off the bat here. Make sure you check closer to lock. Some other quick stats I did want to mention, I think that are important tonight. So if you want to talk specifics to defense, well, Kansas City was ranked dead last in terms of a grading from a run defensive perspective. So if you're focusing on running backs, you may want to focus on a running back from Houston. Personally, I'm not really interested in it. They're going to trail. They're on the road. It's going to be tough. But in general, Pro Football Focus has ranked the Kansas City Chiefs as the worst graded team in 2019 in terms of a run-stopping defense. Has that changed in 2020? It could possibly change. Certainly could. I don't see too much in terms of an offseason that could change that, at least drastically. So again, just keep that in mind. Kansas City certainly can be exploited by running backs on the ground. Now, in terms of a coverage standpoint or a secondary, Kansas City does bump up. They're about middle of the pack. Now, keep in mind the thing here, they're graded decently well from Pro Football Focus, but they get thrown on it against at least a lot, so keep that in mind. Now, on the other end of the coin here, the Houston Texans kind of rank bottom 5, bottom 10 in almost everything in terms of a defense. So they are currently 27th out of 32 teams in terms of coverage, in terms of run defense. They're also towards the bottom of the pack here, ranked 21 out of 32. And then in terms of other stats, depending on how much you want to get into it, they're a really bad tackling team, 30 out of 32. So if you can pretty much attack Houston, I think with any skill position player from the Kansas City Chiefs, especially those more elusive players like Tyreek Hill, should certainly have field days in general. But just a couple of little stats there to help you guys figure out who you want to attack, what teams you want to focus in on for tonight's slate. Now, with that said, there's really only a couple of guys I want to focus on for this captain spot. My number one target tonight for captain is Travis Kelce, 13-8 when played at the captain spot. But I think of all the elite guys, he will go the least owned. And by least owned, he's going to get owned. But in terms of a captain of an elite scoring player, I think Travis Kelce will be lower owned. Not much needs said about him. An elite player, an elite tight end, just as good as most any receiver in the league. Do really like Travis Kelce. What does that mean for the rest of the team? Well, it's going to be tough, obviously. I think you need to play both Mahomes and Watson tonight. Mahomes obviously is what he is. You stack him with Kelce there. Deshaun Watson, on the other hand, that team should be trailing. I don't like their running backs, as I mentioned. I think they're just going to continue to have to pass the ball to keep up with the Chiefs tonight. So I think you have to play Watson from that perspective. Now, it's going to be tough with money. I think if you come down here, this is an interesting spot. D. Williams, he's only $1,800 for Kansas City tonight. Will he get 15 rushes? Absolutely not. We know that the projected starter, Edwards-Helaire, the guy they drafted, their backup that's now the starter, in a great spot tonight, obviously. But in general, I think you can't completely roll out Williams. He's been there for a couple of years now. He's the primary backup. I think you could see 7 to 10 rushes out of him, hopefully a couple of catches. But again, keep in mind, he's $1,800, so he helps your lineup work tonight. I do really like him, fitting him as a flex player. Is in regards to your other players here, obviously, with what we have here, we have to stay under $5,000. If I go with any receiver from this team, I would go with Brandon Cooks from the Houston team, but he is a bit pricey there. So coming down here, another Kansas City player is Hardman. I do like him in terms of a secondary receiver that's available. You can go with the Houston kicker, $3,800. Again, we're really loading up this Kansas City team. But if you go with the Houston kicker there, if they're going to score a lot of points, it naturally correlates well. But in general, that's where I'm thinking. Other players you can get some exposure to. Kenny Stills, Fells. Stills is really only in play if Cooks is going to miss the game, so stay in touch with that. Figure out how that should shake out. But in general, that's what I'm looking at for a Travis Kelce type of play. Now, I will say it's interesting to play Mahomes at captain. I don't think very many people will do it. If you do it, it is going to be very, very difficult to fit players. If you go Mahomes, you can maybe, again, come down to Butker, the kicker, $3,800. That bumps you up in price here up to $6,800. You fit maybe your Hardman to stack with him, and then maybe your Cooks. Depending on what you want to do here, you can go Fuller. This is another team that I put together that I do like. In general, again, Mahomes, I'm not saying he won't be owned, but he very well could be the highest scoring position player. Good captain spot in general tonight. Outside of that, you can go a million different ways. I will say you have to get creative tonight, whether that's playing, if you just play your Hills and your Edwards, Hilairs, people like that, that's where most people will go at the captain spot tonight. You could play Hardman at captain. You could play Williams at captain and see what happens. The thing with Williams, as I mentioned, we haven't had a preseason. We don't really know how this shakeup will go in the backfield. Again, they could be leading by a lot at a certain point, but those are kind of my thoughts tonight. Again, if you guys play the slate, there's two things you have to keep in mind. You have to get creative if you want to win anything. It's just how it is. I don't play any cash games or anything like that with this, but in general, if you just stick with the main guys, good luck. Everybody's going to be doing that. If you enter a tournament with 50,000 people and you play, some of the most normal players in these positions, you're really not going to do much. So you have to get creative. I did see some suggestions earlier about going Edwards, Hilaire, and Williams in the same lineup. Interesting. It's a way to get creative. I don't know if I like it that much, but again, you're going to have to figure this out and make a creative lineup. But in general, hopefully you guys enjoy these style of videos. Again, I'll be putting them out every Thursday. And in terms of NFL, we'll be putting out content 3 to 4 times a week. We'll be getting right back to baseball this starting Monday. Just want to kind of give you guys a quick update as to how things stand with NFL, how things stand with MLB. And in general, we'll be touching on this slate for tonight. So again, hopefully this is helpful for you guys. If you're new here, haven't done so already, I'd really appreciate a like on this video. Consider subscribing to these videos, this channel, No Huddle Fantasy Sports. It's helpful. Make sure you follow me at No Huddle FS, and I will catch you in the next video.